thing you've bought impulsively without need that's actually proved useful in your life. Story 1, the official Bob Ross Master Paint set. Bought in February with no prior artistic experience, and have since painted 23 oil paintings. I don't really paint in Bob style anymore, but it was a great way to get started learning. Story 2, neighbor was moving away and had a yard sale. Bought a metal pipe for 50 cents, about 20 long and a diameter of 1. Wife looked at me like I was half serial killer, half idiot. Few months later, flat tire at 6:15 in the morning. Guess who easily loosed all the lug nuts in record time? This guy and his metal pipe. Story 3, pool hall offered a student membership. 20. I didn't plan to play much pool there or anywhere at the time, but I figured one of the perks was 2 off drinks. Helped me become a functional alcoholic all through university and grad school. Story 4, a portable charger. It holds 11 to 12 full charges of my iPhone, and I just bought it on a whim. It has literally changed my life like few other purchases have ever done. Story 5, big pack of assorted screws. Was at Home Depot and saw them. Said, why not? And bought them. I think it was like 12, and I've used almost all of them. Story 6, 10-foot phone charger. I needed a new charger and it was on sale, so it was the cheapest option, but holy has it served me good. Need to roll over in bed, but still charge. You can want to sit anywhere on the couch and still charge. You can, or you in the backseat of car, and I need a charge. You can a Roomba. It was on sale, crazy cheap, like 50 off. I bought it. We have an open floor plan and linoleum floors. It's so amazing. Our living room furniture is elevated enough that it fits under the couches. We have 4 cats that shed like crazy, but there is never hair or litter. Every day it vacuums the first floor and has been such a time saver. 1010, would buy again. And we did, got one for the second floor and purchased an older model for each of our immediate family for Xmas. Story 7, historical video games have been the key to passing history. Hoi 4 saves me in my geography tests. Only downside is my mental map of the world hasn't been updated since the 1940s. Until last year, I thought Yugoslavia was still a country. Story 8, spent 100 on a dog bed made out of Kevlar the stuff in bulletproof vests. Dog has been using it for 3+ years now without tearing even a tiny hole in it. Much better than buying cheap 25 beds every couple of weeks. Story 9, a brown heavy coat. Looks ugly but insulates so that I feel just like a lifesaver. Edit, I'm not a native English speaker and mistook insulates for isolates. Well, nothing an ugly coat wouldn't do. Story 10, I bought a rice cooker, even though I don't eat much rice and don't particularly like it. It came with a vegetable steamer. I used that thing literally every day until I upgraded to an Instant Pot with a steamer basket. Colossal improvement to my nutrition and life in general. Story 11, an electric tire inflator. It was on sale for $19.95, so I bought 2. One that plugs into a garage wall outlet, and the other stays in the car and plugs into the vehicle's utility outlet. Gone are the days of going to gas station air pumps and sometimes having to pay for air. Story 12, I bought a water bottle. Already have several that I use regularly as a souvenir at a national park with my girlfriend because she had one like it. I now use that one every day because I like the cap mechanism. Story 13, a good soldering iron. I used to think I sucked at soldering because I was using a cheapo Walmart special that cost me $5. Turns out soldering is 90 equipment, 10 skill. With a good iron, even I with a really low skill score can solder surface mount components without issue. Since I purchased my Hacko, I've built several synthesizers from scratch, and they're some of my most prized possessions because I built them myself with my own 2 hands. I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that had I not found a good iron. Story 14, laser burner. I bought it offline because of a video where you could melt with it. It was a bright blue light and came with a lightsaber type of handle. Totally dumb purchase. There was little real-life application for it. I kept it in my car for safety. Then I get scheduled to work a security shift at the hotel I used to work at. There was a wedding that night, and they ended up getting pretty rowdy. I wrapped up my hours, but they were still partying and invited me to join them. 2 of the girls were really flirty and tipsy, and they wanted to get me drunk. They also wanted to light their smokes, but lost their lighter. I got the blue laser burner out of my car, lit their cigs, and it turned into a party trick. Lighting their cigs and melting their names into a Hershey bar got me 2 girl and half a threesome. We were all pretty drunk, but the one girl couldn't keep up after a few minutes and went to the other hotel bed to sleep. The lens doesn't work much anymore, but I still keep it in my car after all these years because of that, and because it's at least a decent batten electric toothbrush double use. Story 15, Apple Watch. Bought it randomly in an Apple store one day because I just like having the latest tech. It very quickly found a heart condition and, according to my doctor, quite likely saved my life. Aside from that, it's useful for streaming music at the gym and generally makes me use my phone less. Story 16, I bought a popcorn bowl for the microwave. Okay, hear me out. It's made out of microwavable plastic that allows you to pop the kernels without adding oil, because it gets really hot, and I think the shape of it helps. I use it to pre-cook veggies for the oven, and as a serving bowl too. I swear as far as bowls go, it's the best one ever. Story 17 picked up a little thumbwheel ratchet drive at a flea market for $1. Just because it looks silly, turns out that little dude is super handy. So many motorcycle bolts have a tight clearance, and traditional handle drive can only get like 5 of rotation. But the thumb wheel squeezes in there and gets big meaty turns. You can tighten bolts down to about 10 FTLBS, then pop on a torque wrench to bring it to spec. Story 18, really powerful flashlight, like 900 lumens or something ridiculous. Use it to find my cat that got out the other night. Spotted the reflection in her eyes in a nearby bush. Also good for lining up my oil filter when I do changes. Story 19, not IRL, but I found out that in Pathfinder, a game similar to D&D, you could purchase a mithril waffle iron for 2,500 GP. One of the final bosses of a dungeon we were clearing about a month or so later was named the Butcher, and we had to defeat him via a cook-off. My waffles infused with holy might caused the boss, who was also judged, to choke on the very first bite, and we reigned victorious. Story 20 Day toilet seat. It has literally decreased the amount of toilet paper that we use monthly by more than 50, and that includes adding another entire person to the equation. We used more TP with 2 adults and 1 small child than we currently do with 2 adults and 2 elementary-age kids. I got it initially to potentially increase the number of days that the wife would agree to fun times after kids are asleep. It has worked beyond my wildest imagination. Story 21 Motorcycle. I used my brief riding experience to talk to ADAS on why they need better detection of motorcycles BC. Kind of was not a good answer. My little talk made the company go out and purchase specific motorcycle targets to more accurately detect and respond to motorcycles. Story 22, definitely a Leatherman. ID always had multi-tool type things, and my dad has a Leatherman of his own, so I knew it was good, but just never bothered. One day, I passed it in the aisle of Menards and thought, why not? That son of it is so useful. Open boxes, check. Cut paper, check. Hangnail in emergency, check. Get splitters out, check. Saw check. Much better than any previous multi-tool I had. It was worth the 60. Knowing what I know now, ID. Even pay double that if I need a new one. It was free, but a library card. I was walking by my local branch one day and just decided to pop in and get a card real quick. Use it all the time. Story 23, I bought a Milwaukee Impact driver and drill set. I generally didn't do handiwork before I bought it, but I use the set regularly now and couldn't imagine life without it. Best 170 I've ever spent. Story 24, a pocket knife. I bought one just because it looked cool, thinking I had no need for one. I honestly carry it everywhere with me now and use it for a bunch of different stuff, either at my job or my daily life. I'm not the strongest, so just to get stuff open or cut stuff or leverage things. I would recommend people get one. Can also double as a small weapon in case you get robbed. Story 25, Raspberry Pi. I bought it when I was bored and watching random YouTube videos. So far I have used it to control electronic circuits using Python programming, and I'm using it to learn Linux commands. Story 26, a strainer that clips onto a pot. Bought it as a joking stocking stuffer. Ended up with it myself after shenanigans. And now I love it. Way easier than digging out the big old colander for pasta, draining ground turkey, etc. Story 27, Hue light bulbs. I set them on a timer and managed to gradually reset my body clock by 2 hours. Making it easy to get up at 6 a.m., even during winter, have a decent breakfast, and get into work an hour before everyone else. Productivity went up. Work became a breeze. Brilliant. Story 28, Impulse bought a robot vacuum last weekend. It cost entirely too much, and I only got it because I'm lazy. It's actually pretty good. It's a bit dumb, and I have to rescue it sometimes, but it cleans pretty well. Story 29, a lockpick set. I wanted it as like a mini puzzle for my own old locks or the practice lock that came with it. I ended up having a friend's girlfriend lose her money box key for their fundraiser thing they did every week. She wanted a new box and just needed the money out, so I actually managed to get it open so she could get the cash out. Literally bought the set for like $8 on Amazon for fun. Story 30, when I was about 12, I bought a toy car that at the time looked cool to me. The car costed me $5 less than my monthly allowance. Once I turned 13, I never played with it again because I grew out of toys. At age 16, I volunteered at Children's Hospital that was a few miles away from my school. I met an 8-year-old, let's call him Sam, that I became friends with. He asked me if I had any toys that I didn't play with anymore, and I said yes. About 2 days later, I gave him the car, and he loved it. Unfortunately, 3 months later, Sam passed away, but even though I didn't use the car anymore, I don't regret buying it. Story 31, Corkscrew. I bought a semi-fancy tin corkscrew despite maybe drinking 1 or 2 bottles of wine a year. Well, Flash forward to full-on old guy adulthood, and now I find myself splitting a bottle of wine with my wife at least 2 or 3 times a month. Sometimes more. I bought a super fancy gun like wine opener that is way overly complicated. I just used the standard levered corkscrew I bought at the grocery store years ago that I thought would probably end up being a waste of money. I used it just last night, a fabric shaver. This has saved so many of my clothes. A triple bristle toothbrush. I have a permanent retainer on my bottom teeth, and it is a challenge to clean it effectively. Purchased the triple bristle from a random Instagram ad at 2:30 a.m. and was prepared to hate it, but it is great. On that same line, a water pick flosser is amazing. On a not-so-small purchase side, I got a Nectar mattress, and it has made a huge difference. I cannot believe the difference it has made. Story 32 espresso machine. I never realized how versatile they can be and how expensive coffee shops are when you compare it. The machine paid for itself 10 times over now. Story 33. I was at Home Depot and bought a Hasselback potato cutter on a whim. Best decision ever. Story 34. A learn-to-knit kit at Dollar General. I saw it and thought I'll get this and start knitting. For years later, I knit all the time. I'm wearing hand warmers I made right now. Every member of my family and all my close friends have something I knitted for them. I have a ton of hats, scarves, shawls, gloves, and dice bag that I've made. I even make a little money now and again when someone commissions a project. I knit at work when I'm bored and at home while watching TV. Story 35. I bought moving blanket from Harbor Freight. It's not large, but it's quilted and decently made. It lives in the back of our minivan to protect the van from muddy bikes. Or, if we're moving stuff, it could be stuffed between the stuff and the sides of the van. And in a pinch, I guess you could use it as a blanket, yes. You have to wash it occasionally. And it's been a beach blanket or picnic blanket at times as well. I mean, it's basically just a tough blanket thing, and it was $5. Edit, actually, I guess it's $4. They have some pretty large ones too, and for very cheap, they're amazingly useful, even if it's just tossing it over that treadmill you never use. HF moving blanket dog. Story 36. A propane camping stove. One of the ones that screws onto a small propane bottle. I saw it and thought it was cool, so I bought it, didn't use it for years. And then we had a massive hurricane that knocked out power and water for a full week. I remember the stove, dug it out of the garage, and we ate like kings the whole week. Story 37. Pretty much anything I buy on impulse at Costco. I swear I'm Costco's target market personified. As for something specific, I bought 2 outdoor outlet timers that you can set to go on/off in 30-minute increments throughout the day. No real need for the 30-minute capability, but figured I could use it for my outdoor Halloween and Christmas decorations inflatable slides. Then I moved to a house that's on a main school bus route, and now I use that 30-minute function to have them automatically go on for the 1 hour in the morning when buses go to school, 1 hour when they pass by me on the way home, and then again between 5 and 10 p.m. Only have to set it once in October, and am good for the season. Story 38. I bought Airheads taffy today. Haven't had them in 20 years. Was useful because my niece handed me a toy phone and said ring. I answered it, and she said, I'm calling because I want candy. I said, you have the wrong number. And she said, that's okay. Thank for time. She now has a pack of 5 Airheads taffy, and I have none. Story 39. 50 cloth diapers from China for my infant. Figured why not? Worst that happened, I gave them away. Ended up reselling the ones I didn't use, made a tidy profit, bought more, started a business. 5 years later, it's my sole income, and not a bad one, with mid-range 6-figure sales per year, couple employees, warehouse the size of 2-car garage, worked out pretty well. Story 40. Electric kettle. Husband bought it when he was smack in the middle of his brief tea obsession, but it's proved wildly useful for so much more, and I love it. Story 41. A Roomba. We called him Brick. He really made a difference keeping the pet hair under control. After several years of faithful service, he unfortunately passed about a month ago when my 3-year-old completely saturated him with water. All efforts to save him failed. He will be missed. Story 42. Google Home. They were on sale. I picked one up just for the sake of it alongside something else I was buying. No real thought process behind it. Just because it's basically my entertainment hub, news source, personal assistant answer to any question. I use it frequently daily. Definitely worth the 20 splurge. Story 43. A power bank. I originally bought it as another cheaper Christmas present for the wife, but it's proven to be super useful. Camping, power goes out. Hiking, airplane rides, picnics, we can charge our phones 4 to 5 times off it. Also can charge the Bluetooth speaker I thought would be useless, but it actually turned out to be an amazing buy. Another one was a selfie stick. We visit a lot of scenic places, and it makes getting great pictures super easy. It's a Bluetooth one with a tripod, and works out super well for a Christmas picture too. Story 44. I bought a 9-pop at a Rib Fest once. I didn't want to wait in line, so I went to this old-fashioned soda stand. The pop was forgettable. The tin cup it came in is now 10 years old, and gets daily use as my water cup while working at my desk. Story 45. The Jim K. illustrated Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's huge, like a coffee table book, and it is so beautiful. My daughter loves it. We read it together every night. And her reading comp scores have improved at school. Best purchase ever. Story 46 bought a Black Series Kylo Ren lightsaber. Turned out to be a good cat deterrent. When I'm trying to sleep, turn it on and stand it against the bedroom door. No more meowing and body slamming the door. Story 47, not me. But a friend purchased a set of old games from the 1980s, 1990s for $10 and resold it on eBay. He somehow got someone to bid $1,200. Story 48, I adopted a disabled kitten. He has a damaged eye. I saw his posting on the shelter's website, texted my girlfriend, and put in the papers to adopt him on the way home from work. Once the shelter had cleared him for adoption shots, snips, etc., I was able to take him home a couple days later. Cat tax. Story 49, all-clad 10 set of pots and pans. This was my first major purchase with my first job that I also got a 25 off, and I still have and use them to this day. I could have easily just bought cheap LOL. Story 50, salad spinner. Endlessly useful for getting almost anything you need to Saudi dry. Picked it up at IKEA because it was super cheap and I had seen chefs use them on TV. Now it's indispensable to me. Story 51, pack. Got one for a festival, but it is surprisingly efficient for everyday use. Super late to the party. But plants, we got a few for the balcony randomly one weekend, and not only has it skyrocketed in number, but it is so ridiculously therapeutic. Just happily pottering away with my plants has helped so many times when I've had just a really hard or long day. Just watching them grow and giving them lots of love and care. So great. Story 52, I got the rapid ramen cooker from when I saw it on Shark Tank. It's really durable Tupperware type bowl with handles that you can microwave ramen in 3 minutes in. I used to boil my ramen blocks, but this is a fraction of the time. I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just use regular Tupperware? The plastic stuff will warp with hot enough water, and I can't afford the glass ones. Story 53, my cat. I was in college living in an apartment that didn't even allow pets. But one day, there was a girl with a box of kittens in front of my building. She was selling these 5-week-old kittens, 15 for the black and white ones, and 10 for the all-black ones. My girlfriend at the time and I both picked one up, and hers fell asleep in her arms almost immediately. I called my roommate to ask if he'd be okay with us keeping him there, and he gave me the dad speech saying the cat would be my responsibility, but he's okay with it. So I handed her a $10 bill, and we brought him up to my room. He stuck with me through the years, and has really helped me through a lot of difficult times and lonely places. I love my little buddy at a cat tax then and now. Story 54, I bought a plunger to go with my Mario costume one Halloween. My active duty plunger cracked at an opportune time a year or so later, but thanks to my forethought, the crappocalypse was averted. Story 55, 5 polos from a thrift shop. I got into the trend of thrifting and wanted to feel included now. I use these 5 specific polos for literally any formal event I attend to. Story 56, I bought this little yellow screwdriver set on Wish once. Took 2 months to arrive. Cost me $4 including shipping. It's the perfect size. It has a belt clip, but it's so small it even fits in my pocket, and it's shaped perfectly to really maximize grip. It feels super solid, and while the bits are definitely lower quality, it is all the ones I would ever need. That 4 screwdriver set has been my main tool when going on holidays or going over to someone else's place to fix something and for building computer for the past 5 to 6 years. Story 57, my husband. We were both too young, and I picked him for every wrong reason. He was the man most likely to make my father's head spin around like Linda Blair's. He asked, I said yes. That was 33 years ago. Still together, still deliriously happy. Who knew head turned out to be a keeper? Who knew ID turned out to be a keeper? Story 58, 8 gun attachment for a spray paint can. It's only about 3, and I can't tell you how many times people treat it like it's the best thing if I whip it out after they say their finger is tired. Hummingbird feeders, something about seeing those animals come into my yard is magical. You just need sugar water, Borax ley stamp poison. Works on nearly any kind of ants and kills a whole colony in days. Parabolic space heater. You might see these called heat dish, but there are other brands too. It's just a wire heating element with an aluminum shield to direct the infrared waves. Heats up a whole room in an hour. No loud fan. Heats up right away and no fear that you'll lean against it by accident. Just put it in the corner of a room and enjoy fragrance-free hand soap. I have sensitive skin and hate the smell of most soaps. Fragrance-free soap is usually around the same price and comes in both liquid and bars. Story 59, a toothbrush with softer bristles. I already had a toothbrush, several unopened ones in fact, but after buying that one, I brush more often, better, and don't randomly bleed, never going back. Story 60, a steamer for my clothes. Randomly bought it while scrolling through Amazon. I've never experienced such luxury. Bring your clothes over. it'll steam them real nice. Story 61 Amazon Alexa. I know it's silly, but I have less anxiety being in my home alone at night when I can turn all the lights off in my bedroom. No need to wander from room to room as it gets darker and darker. Story 62. So, yeah, not a thing I bought myself, but somebody bought impulsively for me. But hear me out, a half nylon, half silicone soup ladle. It scoops soups and sauces like you wouldn't imagine possible. This is like the biggest revolution in cooking since some caveman decided that ground up leaves really did something to that mammoth leg. Story 63, cheap oil paintings from China from painting replica village, blah, why? But there have been days where I see no value in life, and they remind me of beauty in my life. They're only valuable to me, but it'll sell my car twice before it'll sell the best painting now. Story 64 box of disposable fountain pens. For each on Staples. Seriously improved my handwriting, and they're so nice to use. I can't use ghetto ballpoints anymore. Story 65 a nice desk chair. Didn't know I wanted one until I decided at 3 a.m. to look on Amazon for one about $200. Didn't know my chair made me uncomfortable until I sat in my new chair. Didn't know my back hurt until I used the new chair's massage pillow for about 2 hours. Didn't realize how much more I'm enjoying games now until I almost forgot to go to work today. Story 66 my tablet. As my wife doesn't buy things impulsively so much as drag them home from wherever she finds them, the metal rack in the bathroom that's been really helpful for keeping towels, feminine products, etc. organized. Story 67 I am an avid mountain biker, and I bought a first aid kit that sits on the bottom of your frame on your bike. I was biking with a friend and went front heavy, flipped over the handlebars, and snapped my right humerus top part of your arm, the second most painful bone to break. I was ahead of my friend, and he made a makeshift splint with twigs and the medical tape and gave me loads of Advil, and because I had that tape, I was able to not have to pay the ambulance fee. That is $300 out of your pocket. Story 68, I didn't buy it per se, but I definitely brought home a rescue kitten after my husband told me not to, and she's been one of the best things in our life. Story 69, honestly an Apple Pencil. ID bought the iPad and was doing just fine with a cheaper stylus, but it looked shiny and I couldn't resist the palm rejection feature. Now my iPad is a big digital notebook. So much better. Story 70, a high-quality corkscrew with handles on the side. So much easier to open a wine bottle than with the cheap ones where you destroy half the cork just trying to get it out. Story 71, a Magic Bullet mini blender for smoothies. Found it cheap. Grab it thinking, and what to have had a healthy smoothie for breakfast every single day since breakfast solved. Story 72, my iPad. No way in that I needed this thing when I bought it. In fact, for the first few months, anything I could do on my iPad I could do on my iPhone, but one day I found a number of cool apps for my iPad and ways of doing things with it that I never thought of previously that completely changed my life. I couldn't imagine living without one now. Story 73 back when I was just starting this adulting thing, and Sears Craftsman was still a quality tool line. I was shopping one day and ran across a 17-foot hardened steel toe chain, 516-inch coils, with a hook on each end. Fair sure, someday I'm going to need that, so I bought on the spot. I don't use it every day or even every month, but a couple of times a year, there's a job to do that needs towing or tugging, or even just something that needs 35 pounds of portable deadweight on it. Attached to the undercarriage of even a Honda Accord, you can transfer enough force to move some pretty surprising things. I have never regretted this decision. Story 74, a gel manicure. I could have done my nails at home or gotten a regular manicure, but my sister urged me to get one the next time I had a special occasion or something like that. So I finally got one the day I left for a vacation in Europe. And that manicure was absolutely indestructible as I ran for planes, trains, and automobiles, dragged my suitcase along behind me, open and shut things, etc. To be honest, it damages your nails if you get them too often, but if you're going on vacation or have a special event, it's well worth the money for every once in a while. Your nails will look perfect for at least 2 weeks. Story 75, my car. At the time, my ex-husband and I didn't need it since we just moved to our new apartment, and I was a stay-at-home wife to do all the house-related work since we made enough to do that comfortably. We had his old car, old but reliable, and anything that went wrong he could fix on it. We decided to swing by a car auction to see if we could find a decently priced car. At first, we were trying to look, and then we found my girl, Clover, $8,500 for a 2014 Corolla. Bought her in 2017. I think totally paid off. Just have to cover insurance and little odds and normal car stuff. Turns out that was the best decision since we ended up splitting, and it gave me the ability to comfortably drive back home to my family, and to this day is super reliable. It's funny because I was pretty against the idea of getting a car since we lived right behind a lot that had pizza, grocery store, package store, gym, bank, and CVS, so I didn't feel I needed it, especially since I ended up working at the gym, so it was only a 5-minute walk. So happy I decided to go. Story 76, I bought a bicycle. I got sick with CFSME, and even the thought of using a bicycle made me tired. One day, I had this weird mood where I went and bought a bicycle, because that's what I wanted that day. I don't know why, but for some reason, out of all the struggle I have with my disease, I don't struggle with bicycle. So far, it's the only fun exercise I've tried. Eventually, I sold my car, and went almost 2 years without a car. Only bicycle in a town with a backpack. That bicycle literally changed my life. I use it regularly, although I did get a car now. Story 77, I bought a Nintendo Switch on March 10th this year. I'm more of a PlayStation kind of guy, and these days I play more on PC, but a few days after I bought my Switch, I met a girl, and we went on a date. After dinner, she came to my apartment complex, and we just sat and talked for a while, and she told me she loved Nintendo and loved Smash Brothers. Luckily, I had bought a Switch just a few days earlier. We went back to my apartment and played video games for a couple of hours before she had to leave. I barely ever play on my Switch unless she comes over. It's just not the same without her. LOL. Story 78, LED light baseball cap. Bought it on impulse. Ended up using it all time fixing and installing things around the house, and occasionally on camping trips. Story 79, it's just one of the newer Camelback bottles with a magnetic quick stow cap. I hadn't seen one until a couple months ago when she showed me hers, but I believe they've been around for a while. Story 80, my first car. Didn't really want that car, but the deal was good, and it was being sold by a friend of my father, so I just went for it. I've had it for over 8 years, and it has outlasted even new cars I've bought. I've never had an issue with it. Only time it's ever not turned on is when I left the headlights on for 12 hours. After a jump, it ran fine. Story 81, definitely hard to admit, but it was dishwashing brush with dispenser. I bought it just because it was really bright and pink and cost only 70 rubles, I guess around one more over. I hated our dormitory sponges more than anything. Later found out that I have OCD. Sad story, but still obsessed with this brush. Story 82, some Danner boots. Already had boots, but they felt so good on my feet, I got them anyway. Later, I injured my foot, and turns out these boots are the only footwear that doesn't leave me limping around. I expect they will last a while, too. Story 83, a fun. Manual transmission, summer car. I always thought that cars were cool, but that I just needed one to get me around and couldn't afford a cool car. Then one day realized you can buy fun, cool cars for relatively cheap and intentionally own multiple cars just for shits, even if you're not rich. So I bought one in April and have seen significantly more of Ontario, Canada in the last 6 months than I did in my entire 5 years of living here. Plus, had to learn manual to drive it. New skills, JPG. Story 84, an IKEA can opener. You know how you buy one in the store, and it worked for a month before you're ripping your hand apart, because it works half-assed. Yeah, this one has been consistent for years. Actually, the vegetable peeler is equally glorious. Story 85, 2 smart lights. I thought they were cool and could turn rooms thousands of colors. I now only use them only as alarms. They have a sunrise setting where it goes from an orangish to a white light. I use Sunday through Friday. They are amazing. Also, I really enjoy telling my phone to turn the lights off each night. It hasn't gotten old in a year. I moved and my new place didn't have internet for 6-ish weeks, so I couldn't use them. I missed them. It wasn't until I got internet that I realized how much I've missed them. Story 8610 clearance at Macy's for a discontinued Bella Pizza oven. It sat in its box for 2 years. One day, I decided to use it to heat a frozen pizza. So fast, so simple, I have now graduated to topping my own homemade dough, which I form right in the pan. That thing's amazing. Story 87, a cylindrical pillow with a raccoon face and tail. Bought on impulse at HM. I realized later that it's a very good neck pillow when I'm sitting on my couch, and I have a headache, which sadly is quite often. It's the most comfortable I can be in these moments. Story 88, a double-barrel shotgun with 14-shell magazine tube, UTS 15. If anyone want one, literally saved my life when 2 Aholi's broke in while I was chilling and playing some games. Story 89, sat there one day in a Walgreens and passed by condoms and thought, yeah, right like anyone wants to bang my hideous, but thought maybe there's hope and I bought them. So one day I make a friend who happens to be a girl in my high school bio class. She was gorgeous, I mean beautiful in a classic way, and hot. She was sexy and not in a high school cheerleader or kinky librarian kind of way, just hot in a mechanic, smart, sexy, fit daughters kind of way. She was messy and didn't care if she got her hands dirty. She wasn't one of those girly girls, but wasn't one of those all my friends are boys type either. Well, our relationship was going great. In school, I'd make her laugh, she'd be playful with me. It was great in school. One day, I invite her over to work on a project for bio, and mom invites her to stay and have dinner. She meets my family, and we have a great night. We talked afterward, and it turns out she had feelings for me. Well, we shared an awkward kiss, and I walked her home where we talked a little more and had another kiss that was a little less awkward. I spent all night texting her, and we talked for hours about anything and everything. The next morning, life went on as usual with the exception of me walking her to school, and as holding hands, we were official in that high school way. It was awesome. Till that fateful day, it was raining. I mean, cats and dogs don't cut it kind of rain, and Talking Katrina was about to take us in a way that makes New Orleans look consensual. We ran home, and on the way there took shelter in a park. No one was there, and we were soaked, like really soaked, and she was wearing a flannel shirt that was skin tight, and she looked so hot. We made out for about an hour. It was great, like notebook kissing in a rain grate. We decided to run back to her place, and when we got there, she took me to the laundry room and said we should put our clothes in the dryer and wait for the storm to pass before I go home. I was nervous. I was 17 and thought I had everything figured out in life. And now that was about to be naked in front of my girlfriend of 2 months. I was shaking like with a broken wing in front of a hungry wolf. And man, did she look hungry. She had this look of intense lust, and I was starting to get infected. She was standing there in her bra and panties looking at me while she tried to wring out her hair that was slightly matted with rain. She smelled amazing. We started making out right there. We wrestled our way down the hall and onto her room, and she leaned me against the pillars sticking up from the corner of her bed and started kissing me all over as she leaned down to push my boxers down. The pillar broke, and we fell backwards. My knee caught her chin and broke 3 of her front teeth. It was a nightmare. There was blood everywhere, and we were scrambling to get towels, and she was screaming, trying to get clothes. At some point, her dad must have come home, because I could hear giant booms as someone rushed up the stairs before I could think he burst in the room to see us there on the floor, almost naked, covered in blood. I think he thought I was trying to rape her because he was telling at me to get away and looked super pissed. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me. I ran all the way home in boxers in the rain. A few days later, we broke up. It was pretty mutual. She blamed me for the dental cage she had to wear, and I didn't want to be seen dating her when all she did was drool and moan like she had a mental deficiency with that cage around her head like the little girl from Finding Nemo. Anyway, I say all that cause it's raining like crazy again, and I just bought new Jordans and found out I can wear these condoms over them to keep them from getting wet. Anyway, that's my story of something I bought on impulse that I didn't and still don't need that turned out to be useful. Thanks for the read.